Okay. Okie dokie. Here we go. Okay. Here we are. Day one of trying to do my first video, for want of a better word. How can I put this all? All right. Why am I here today? All right. What has prompted me to do this particular video is to start. Sorry. What has prompted me to do this particular video is to highlight issues I have had with institutions which say one thing with regards to what their pillars of service are for the community or for the customer, and pretty much the inadequacies that appear really every day and are not delivered. Now, I'm just saying that I have no idea if a company X has 10,000 clients, whether 3 people have a problem or whether 9,000 people have a problem. This I don't know. However, and the fact that we, as the public, don't know what has transpired before we make our issue or our complaint, whether we are just the 1 in 1,000 or whether we are the 999th person of 1,000, or even the 999,000. I guess I'm trying to say 9,999th person with regards to the issue. We don't know. Unfortunately, it's all shrouded in some form of secrecy. However, if we don't, or if each individual doesn't voice their opinion and their issue, no one is the wiser. The corporations tend to be shielded from the actual information, because surely a lot of information is being garnered and collected prior to each event, let's say, for argument's sake. Now, look, I can mention numerous corporations, I guess, which I won't at this point in time. However, they all seem to, resort to the same playbook. They all have the same way of doing things. It seems to be a corporate strategy that's being put out there by, well, I don't know if any one particular organisation has done it, or it becomes one of those things where, company X does it, let's adopt it. And then a company Y does it, and then company Z, blah, 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 all the way down the line. They all adopt the same attitude of how to resolve or really not resolve something. to the detriment of the customer. Pretty much trying to shift the blame of the problem from the corporation or the company onto the customer, and making the customer, how can I put it, making the customer, putting the emphasis back on the customer so that the customer has to provide all the necessary support that they already know, but they're just saying, sorry, this is the first I've heard of it. What's your problem? And I'm suspecting in a lot of cases it's endemic. They know it. It's been there before. They as the company, look, there's obviously half a dozen levels, but the corporate hierarchy at the top won't admit to anything, even though at the coalface, which might be 3, 4, 5 levels down, is experiencing these issues day in, day out, and it just gets filed and it doesn't go any further until somebody pushes it, which is what I guess I'm trying to do. I'm pushing it that little bit further to sort of say, look, I just can't believe that you say X in your corporate policy and your customer, assurance, yet when I bring it up as a problem, it's like, oh, I've never heard this before. And I'm suspecting it's been there a number of times. Now, I obviously can't say a particular number, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to vent some issues that are there that no one has really addressed before. This might be the springboard. This might be if you and a number of people and whoever is watching this particular video might sort of say, you know what? I know what he's saying. I've been there, I've done that, and I've sort of just let it slide. And what the company that I'm dealing with, it could be a telco, it could be a number of particular companies, but I'll let it slide. I'm not particularly going to push it because they're trying to solve my problems today. Invariably they don't, and they kind of throw it back at me as the issue and the problem. Oh, your modem is the problem, or your connectivity is the problem. Your, who your provider is the problem. I understand there's a chain of events with things, but where does the buck stop? And I think we're all being hoodwinked by the fact that the buck stops with us when it really doesn't, because we're the customer. We pay for all the services. We pay for the wages. We pay for the company's profits. We pay for the shareholders. So delivery is the issue, not trying to smooth over why you are the problem as a customer and we as the company are not the problem. Nobody is coming clean. Customers can obviously exploit the system. I understand that. I understand that genuine people won't do that. Those that are questionable will. Who decides and governs a decision over that is another issue. But in essence, I'm here today to try and say why I think there is something going on. And I think we're all experiencing it. Those that have issues will experience it. That, some people will be fine. There is no problem. What they signed up for, they have. They got. There is no issue with any of that. But it's the problems that are the problem. Redundant as that might sound. Yet, whatever the company and corporate policy seems to be, is that we will look after everybody, regardless of what your issues are. Those that say nothing, fine. You will have our service, you will go on for years or days or whatever, and there will not be an issue. But those that are experiencing an issue, well, I can't say from the technicality point of view about what they should do, other than if their wording in their policy and their corporate position and their customer assurance is being breached, then it's breached. Once it's breached, then there's no two ways about it. You can't explain it away. I've experienced this recently with a number of things, and I could mention a few names. I kind of won't at this point in time. Maybe later on, as I can see maybe some reaction from others that are experiencing things. I mean, I'm talking about things like not just the local telco. I'm here in Australia. I'm here in Canberra. I have my local telco, which provides me my service, and they have performed flawlessly for 25 years or so, which is what I've been with them. However, they have been undertaken and retaken and bought out and re-bought out by a number of organisations ever since. The original telco that I'm talking about, I was very happy with. They informed me with what was going on. They would say, hey, look, we got a new rate. We're going to apply it to you. You don't have to respond. You don't have to find out about it in the fine print. You don't have to find about it online. You don't have to find out about it from your friends. We're just updating you. As I say, I've been with them for 25 years. However, new management has come along as a new overseeing provider, which really isn't doing the customer a service. If anything, and I actually worked in the telecommunication industry 10 years ago, and I could see what was going on back then, where one side was doing something and not informing the customer, saying, hey, we've got better rates and we've got better deals, we'll tell you about it. I had to inform my new customers I had to inform people who came in to see me to say, hey, look, let me have a look at your account. What are you on at the moment? Like, give me your phone number and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, hey, you know what? If you change to this, we could make that old account redundant and give you at the time, from memory, I'm thinking some of them were paying like $20 a month for, maybe $20 or $30 a month for something that was like 10 megabytes a month in terms of download, when at the current rate at the time when they came in to see me, it was like a gigabyte for the same amount of money. So, but the company never informed them to say we could give you a better rate. They just happily kept invoicing him every month at the old rate. I thought that was, unconscionable, really, from my perspective. Now, I know from the company side of view, company point of view, bleed the customer as much as you can, and increase your profit, increase your sale rate, and decrease your liability rate, and we make more profit. I understand that. I just don't think it's fair, and it certainly has never been fair. I think a lot of you may already have guessed which telco I'm talking about, which particular plans I'm talking about. But no, that's just not kosher with me, and with any normal thinking person, that's not kosher either. All right, that's beside the point. That's been and gone, blah blah blah. Why am I here today? I'm here because some of that thinking and that way of doing business is still there. It's maximize the profit, reduce the cost, and that way the shareholder, I guess, is happy. It seems to so much seems to be swayed towards the shareholder, not the customer. The customer is the one who's paying the bills. The customer is the one who's doing the service each day. The shareholder is in the background, yes. Yes, the shareholder is invested in the company, yes. The shareholder expects a return, yes, I understand that. But it needs to be done on the most moral way of obtaining that increase. Not ripping them off, which is kind of what I'm seeing is happening and has been happening for a long time. Now I'm talking about my experience with businesses and telcos going back about a good 15 years. So things really haven't changed that much. They just keep going on the same thing, the same way of doing things. It's just business as usual. And unfortunately, as far as the customer is concerned, it's not business as usual. And we now have another issue, and that is that us older people, I'm now 65, I consider myself somebody who's had a good 40 years of experience in the business community, well, in general. I have something to go back on. The new guys, the new kids on the block, those 25 and under, they love technology. They absorb it. They'll go with the flow. I was like that to a degree too, but I don't know who's giving them the signposts that look out for the warnings, look out for what is going wrong, because the companies won't tell you that, because they want to maximize profits. They will do whatever they can get away with, and I'm saying, yeah, get away with what you can, but we as the consumer are aware of what you're doing, and we won't let you get away with anything that we think is just way over the top, and I think it's getting that way. I'm becoming very disillusioned. It's becoming way over the top. I love technology. I love the way things have been happening in the background in terms of, how we can deliver stuff. I've been away for a couple of years for one particular reason, which is still in dispute. However, my realization coming back into the fold of the normal world has highlighted just how much technology has advanced and how much of a shock to the system to me it is the way it's going. The fact that you have to sign up for pretty much everything just to use your own computer, which you pay out of your own money, yet now Microsoft may run or own the operating system, but you buy that operating system. Now, you buy it under license. Now, the license shouldn't say, sorry, you've got to log in, we need to know who you are, we want to see blah, blah, blah. I'm suspecting that Windows 11 at this point in time is going that way, and from the reviews and the posts I'm seeing online from other users and other people who are familiar with, the Windows system, it's not a good sign. If anything, it's becoming more about what I was just saying, earlier, that we have a problem where the corporations are taking total control over us, and yet we're the payers. So technically we should be the owners, not the corporation. The corporation should be the supplier of the goods. Once you buy the car or the mobile phone or whatever, you are the owner. No, hang on. No, I won't say that, because then it becomes down to things like software and stuff like that, and I have no idea now who really owns what. I mean, yes, you've bought for something, but you've bought something under a license or under an agreement and blah, blah, blah. That's... It's all going that way, actually. I hate to say it. We as consumers are having less and less power, yet we are the ones that generate the dollars. We go out and work, we buy the products, and we give the corporations our money for whatever products they sell us. The shareholders obviously gain a percentage, if the company is rising in value, so they get some worth. So really, we should be the controller, not the company. The company should be the service provider. And provision doesn't not necessarily mean to take absolute control and undermine morals and human and customer expectation. I don't know. That could be another video. I don't know. So where am I today? Where am I today? I believe a lot of this needs to stop, but more people need to be behind what I believe, if what you agree is the correct thing to do. I'm certainly not saying you have to do something, which As I say, when it comes down to the companies and the products you buy and everybody has to go through 50 bloody pages of terms and conditions before they let you have whatever product or service that they are supplying. I think that is a little unconscionable. I can go back 30, 40 years where nothing like that was ever. Admittedly, all of this is now electronic. It's all on the internet. It's all done in such a way where I guess they can shove 50 pages of terms and conditions in front of you, and you have to say agree or you don't agree. And if you don't agree, you don't get the product or you don't get the service. 40, 50 years ago, that was certainly not the case. It was certainly never spelled out that way. Why it's like that today, I don't know. Other than more corporate protection, more than it's certainly not consumer protection. It's more corporate protection. But then again, they're the ones that want to make the money, not you. And it should be more in your favour, not their favour. Now, I must admit, people shouldn't be taking advantage of the company either. But where is the line drawn and who draws that line? And then how do you voice your opinion about I've been wrongly done by? Ombudsmen don't seem to do anything. It seems to be more an administrative process than anything. I've had 2 or 3 encounters with the Ombudsman for my telco. I didn't want to push the point. It wasn't terribly bad, but they did help me, which was good. So yes, they do get away with what they can get away with, unless they get pushed by the consumer and go through the correct channels. But really, that's not morally. That's not right. I guess that's where I'm coming from. I'm just sick and tired of the fact that you've got to chase up so much stuff that you already know. And look. In your heart, if you are an honest person, you shouldn't be put through those hoops. However, from the other point of view and the other side of the coin, I understand. They think they're being scammed by pretty much everybody that has a complaint. So why should we, the honest consumer, the honest complainant, have to go through all those hoops just to weed out the people that are dishonest, which we have nothing to do with? It's like the shoplifter. Why should every consumer in the store be considered a shoplifter when they're not? There's only the odd 2 or 3 or whatever. That brings me back to my days of being at Grace Brothers and seeing how they operate as terms of store detectives and watching what they went through in terms of looking for their their suspect. I just thought it was funny, actually, more than anything. It was entertaining to a degree. It was certainly enlightening. It gave me an idea of what they were doing. But yeah, that's a whole other story. Let's not. I'm not going to go there. I think that may be enough for this rant today. Whether anybody gets anything out of this, I don't know. I would be pleased to hear your comments. I am aiming this only at Australian people. here in this particular country. You may have issues around the world, but then again, legal jurisdictions and legal requirements and all the other things that are set in place really have no bearing on my comments here. Some things may be consistent, maybe a common factor, but no. I want to hear from local people. I want to hear from Australians who have got the same issue. I'm not relating it just only to telcos. It could be any corporation. In fact, I have had issues with lots of corporations. When I say issues, I'm talking about, I'm trying to pull them up when they have said or are presenting themselves incorrectly compared to what their, their pillars of customer expectation is, where it's being changed or where it's being denied or where it's failed. I would be curious to hear your stories. Not saying that I'm going to solve them, but for my own statistics, I would like to know that it's out there. I suspect it's out there. I want, if anything, I want genuine stories about that problem. And maybe further down the track we may be able to do something through the legal system to change things. I've had some dealings with the legal system already, and I can see that it's certainly biased towards certain parties, just with the way that it's done. But that's another issue. I won't go there at this time. But no, tell me what your thoughts are when it comes to your experiences. Probably telcos. I think they're the ones that have probably got actually the main issue at the moment, because everything's going off broadcast. TV is dead or is dying if unless you want to watch the TVSN channel, which I did actually not that long ago, and a Nikon camera caught my eye, and I thought I'll find out what it's got and what they're doing. But no, generally speaking, other than maybe the news programs first thing in the morning, News 24 for the ABC, giving them a tiny plug. I do commend what they do. However, it's highly repetitive, so after you've caught 15, 20, 30 minutes worth, you've heard every story unless new news breaks. I think TV's dead. But anyway, that's again another issue for another video, possibly down the track. My channel rather, is presenting. I've got about 100 videos online already now at this point in time. The last 3 or 4 have become my little rant, for want of a better word, my 2 cents worth of from doing some poetry that I've done in the last year, and I'm just now trying to put that to video to give people some entertainment. It may strike a chord with some people, the particular comment or the copy or the content at the time, but yeah, none of it is meant to be offensive. I say that slightly tongue-in-cheek actually, because world power is going the wrong way today, but You'll see that with some of the posts that I've done. I won't mention one particular man who is so narcissistic that pretty much he only survives because of his controversy. He's a presidential shock jock. Oops, I've already said it. So the fact that you make controversy garners response and gets the numbers and gets the whole machinery running, which is what, Fox News and them more in particular than anybody else, but pretty much everybody wants numbers. They want eyeballs, to see their particular product, and they want to see their their channel or what they're presenting. And the only way you can do that is by having the most outrageous news, and half the time it's it really is just crap. But the fact that a news headline says something that gets your attention and makes you click on it, well, therein lies the truth of the system and how it works. Not quite bait and click, but it's sort of similar. I'll bait you with a headline and get you to read the story, and then the story is a little bit more mundane and a little more mild compared to what the headline is. It's a tactic. It's been used before. Rupert Murdoch used it quite well when he was running newspapers. Still does today, but he's obviously pushed that on to his staff at the news network of Fox and any other associated newspaper he's got. I mean, I'm sure they all follow the same, the same playbook. But that's, again, business is business, and the only way you get business is to get customers. The only way you get customers is to get traffic. The only way you get traffic is to generate something that is of interest. When it comes to all this soft media, soft stuff, I'm not talking about you going in to buy a car and making the car sound like it's going to fly or whatever when it can't. But when it comes to all this online stuff, you can pretty much say whatever wording you want, and you attract an eyeball, and they click to it, and oh, you're disappointed, okay, you go away. I doubt that you actually will say, yeah, that was a wonderful story. The headline was great. In fact, the headline didn't do it justice. The story was actually even better, and there was more info there. No, it never works that way. It's the other way around. The headline grabs you. The story becomes kind of more redundant. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.